I don't. Okay, let me just double check and make sure we are live. And then we will get going. This one says upcoming. Yep. Okay, we're live. All right. So, hey, everybody. Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and I've got Chrissy on with me. Yes, we are twins.
What?
I
Nobody
don't know
told
that
me.
I don't know that anybody's ever seen us together, so this will be interesting. Okay,
Well,
so
that's not true.
I don't know if they've seen us on camera together.
Oh, that's true. Probably true.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking, we're going to jump right into the topic, right? So for those of you who sell on Etsy, you have probably got the email that says deposit delayed, right? And Chrissy, can you recap kind of the email?
Well,
I just can't figure it out.
basically, no, I was going to look it up actually, but I can't remember where it's at. Basically, they're saying that due to the Silicon Valley Bank closure, that they're having delays in payment processing, but they're very vague. And they said with some of their people, which I do not have any reason to be like connected to that. So that's definitely on Etsy's end. So they're saying though that it was something to do with being able to actually transact the deposits.
Yeah, so obviously we are not going to know exactly how Etsy fits into all of it, other than clearly they use that bank. Now, for those of you who are younger or didn't pay attention, if you're our age or even slightly older, this is not the first time historically that a bank has been shut down. However, it is the first time in a long time. And in fact, some people are calling this Enron, which Enron is a completely different beast. It was an energy company, I think, but their whole thing was they were reporting bad profits, and and at one point they claimed that it was a decimal error. So if you ever hear me joke about that, that's what it's about. I always say when somebody gives me a bad number, I go, did you work for Enron at all? And that's my ongoing joke. But the important thing here is that if you caught my video from last week, you'd say, Kim, are you psychic or something? Because I said, hey, it's not a matter of if something happens, but when something happens. And that's because something always happens, right? Always happens. So Chrissy and I have been actually looking at some trends in the last several months and even years where we have seen not just Etsy, but other e-commerce platforms, physical, when you go to physical stores, payment processors in general, and just a general trend to chaos, if you will, or trouble. And this is one of those things that falls into the trouble category. So now we have an email sent out to us that says, oh, hey, it's going to be delayed. Now, delayed till when? We don't know. Undoubtedly, because they pulled this stuff on a Friday, we're not going to hear anything till Monday
Well, they
because it's
also
a
have
glitch.
it on the Etsy dashboard. It says there was a delay with your recent scheduled deposit. We're working to resolve this issue and we'll let you know when the deposit has been sent.
Yeah. So
No
they're
information.
basically, yeah, they're going to pull the cop out. Well, they probably don't know, in all honesty. They
No,
probably
they
don't
don't.
know what's going on. All they know is that they're
They
in
don't
the
have a
middle of
backup
this.
plan.
No, they don't have a backup plan. Clearly, they don't have enough reserves for this. I guess. I don't know. Maybe they do. We'll find out on Monday. And this is kind of a last minute thing. Normally, if this happened during the week, not a huge issue just the next day. But this is going to be 2 full days of no information. And then if they send the payment on Monday, most of us don't see the deposit until Tuesday or Wednesday. So it's a delayed, and that's the earliest. So if this gets delayed even more, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? So Chrissy, one of the things in my video that I talked about is 3 different ways that you can communicate with your customers in the event something happens. Right now, Etsy's not shut down, so you could easily reach out via the Etsy Messenger and talk to them. But if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, because there is a risk, right? Etsy doesn't want you driving traffic to another site. Etsy
Etsy
still exists.
has a thing in their rules that says if the transaction starts on Etsy, it has to stay on Etsy. You can't take it off of Etsy or they can shut your shop down.
So that's and it's a legitimate concern. If you do a lot of business on Etsy, driving traffic off of Etsy is a risk. I mean, they could retaliate because you weren't patient enough. Now, I don't know that they will. I think that they'd be understanding enough to say, hey, we understand that we weren't paying you and you had to do something, right? They're not giving any information, which by the
It's only
way,
been
they
one day.
should.
They would not agree to that yet.
Right. And but here's the thing is that a legitimate business should be doing that. They should be providing you the steps of saying, hey, look, these are some backup plans. On Monday, we're going to have some more communication with you. We're going to give you more information, whatever, other than saying, well, we'll talk to you when we talk to you. The crisis communication in most of these companies is horrible, but we have to worry about our own businesses. So if Etsy's not going to pay us, how do we get paid? How do we communicate with our customers? So the one thing is the sales that are on there are the sales that are on there. I don't recommend jumping in and going and saying, I'm going to cancel all my orders and do something else. I don't recommend that at this point, right? People are buying through Etsy for a reason. Etsy has a good brand. They have, loyal customers. You don't want to rock that boat if you don't have to. And it's a little early and premature to be doing that. But you might want to start thinking about what happens if Monday they say, we don't know how much longer it's going to be. Right. And so one of the things that we've been doing is, and like I said, there are 3 things that I mentioned in that last video was that 1 is email, 2 is messenger marketing, which almost none of you are going to have set up. So that's okay. And the third one is, and I combined these as your app or website, alternate app or website, right? Now, some people have a preference of they have another website and they have it integrated with Etsy. I would say, yeah, go ahead and let customers know that there may be delays from Etsy. And if they don't want those delays, that they need to purchase from your site and leave it up to them to make the choice. Because yes, you're driving people off of Etsy, but at the same time, you're going to be able to get the money through your payment processor then. Probably. Can't make any guarantees.
We hope.
Yeah. It's not like we have a list of the companies that are affected. I don't think they've released that. So just keep in mind that you don't want to rock the Etsy boat if you're making a lot of sales. Now, if you're not making a lot of sales and you're like, hey, I don't care, I just need to make sales, and you have a customer list, use that customer list and drive them to your alternate location. And I recommend either an app or a website, depending on what fits your business model the best. And when we get to that point, I'll teach you how to have a combo app website. So it's actually a new type of technology called PWA technology, and you can have it as it's an app and a website at the same time. So that's fun, and I really like it. But again, we'll build that later on. For now, you probably don't have that. So hopefully you've been building your email list, right? I mean, that's probably the best way, wouldn't you think, Chrissy?
Probably. Well, maybe it depends. Like, because I have an email list and the people have always signed up on it and stuff, but I have not done much with it.
And that is a
So
challenge that we've faced with Chrissy's list, is that she has several hundred people on her list, but because they all continually buy on Etsy on a regular basis, she hasn't had a need to really push out a whole lot of information to them. So there's some challenges with that. One is that if you don't use your list regularly, you haven't warmed up the list, which means, one, if you email them, they're going to have an issue, right? They're going to go, oh my gosh, who is this person? And put it into spam. If they do recognize you, they're going to go, why am I getting this? And they're probably just going to delete it. Then there's always the chance that, the email service providers, so Yahoo, Google, Hotmail, MSN's always a problem though. So that might have nothing to do with anything, but these email platforms could say, look, we've never seen your email before. It's going into spam. So there's a lot of things that are still going to be a challenge if you aren't regularly using your list. However, you're going to get through to some people. Alternatively, if we wanted to, we could run an ad as well, right? We could say, hey, look, let's run an ad directly to our list because we have our email list. They've all opted into our list. And we could say, look, let's load this up into Facebook. Let's do an ad specifically to them. Run the ad, give them a discount, say, hey, come over to this other location, right? So with an email list, Chrissy could go, hey, you know what? I don't want people buying on Etsy right now. Let me email them and tell them to come over to our other shop, which we do have another shop already set up. So we can send them there. Alternatively, you can email them and say, hey, Etsy's down. If you are in, or Etsy's not
they were down the other day, but
yeah, they were down.
they're having delays in payment. Now, this is where we need to say that this is up to an individual person how they want to do this, right? So, like maybe in my case, I feel comfortable relying on my credit cards until they get situated, right? There's some people that don't have credit cards. They don't have the money to be able to invest in paying I mean, the shipping comes out if you use Etsy labels, the shipping comes out of that what's in there, so it's not that big of a deal. That cost is already being pulled from the money that they are supposed to be giving you. So you wouldn't be responsible for that. But the inventory that you're sending or the product you're sending, the time you're putting into this stuff, it all costs money. And so if you have to pay for something and you have no other way of paying, then you're going to be choosing how you want to proceed, right? If you need that money, so there's a lot of people that get that money every single day because they rely on that money every single day. Now that this money's not coming in, they don't know how long it's going to come in. Then that's where you're going to say, look, I need to push this over to another server or another site where I have a payment processor that can pay me within a certain amount of time. If you feel like that's going to be a week or two down the line, then maybe you would hold off on the Etsy, or you would hold off on changing from Etsy and just say keep it on Etsy. But I have personally chosen to delay, like not delay sending out completely, but I pushed out my fulfillment times to see what's going on. Because even though I might be able to say, okay, you know what, I can stop buying stuff right now to be able to sell or whatever, and just keep selling what I've got in stock, I still need that money coming in. So if they're not going to pay me for a week, then yeah, I'm going to start pushing people over to our other site. If they're going to pay me, if they're saying, yep, it's going to take a week to get through this, we promise we'll get it going, maybe I hold off on. I mean, I still have that as available. I'm still holding off on shipping until I know for sure. But at the point I'm at now is like, if someone wants their stuff shipped right away, I'm gonna send them over to the other site because I know that I can get that money moving faster. That's just where I'm
Yeah.
at.
Well, and that's so bare minimum right now is if you have physical products that you're shipping to people, consider extending the ship times. That will give you more time to figure out what's going on. If it's not a big deal to you, like Chrissy said, and you have credit cards that you can float for a while, I mean, if you're using Etsy shipping labels and you're like, hey, it's not a big deal if I get the money for a couple of weeks, then don't worry about it. Keep business as usual and keep going. Keep your customers happy and keep and build that email list if you're not already doing that, right? We already have a video on how to do that specifically for Etsy. If you're on another site or something that's been affected by this, same rules apply, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Extend your shipping times, look for an alternate payment method, and start shifting over. Worst case scenario, you tell your customers, look, I can't process the orders through Etsy. Tell me which ones you want. I'll send you an invoice through PayPal. That's the worst case scenario at this point, unless you have your PayPal shut down. Then maybe you need to do it through Stripe or something, but or Groove or wherever. There's a lot of different options that you can use as a worst case backup plan if you don't have anything else set up. Right, just start with the customers you currently have. If you need to message them through Etsy, do that. Right, if you're in that situation. So this is again is going to be a very personal situation to each of us. Um, Chrissy and I are in a situation where we can wait till Monday to find out. And most people are going to have to wait till Monday no matter what, right? I mean, yes, you can process some stuff on through PayPal if you want to over the weekend or through somewhere else, but you're still not going to get paid Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Probably it's going to take some time. So if you're just jumping into PayPal, that's another challenge, right? If you're shipping products, sometimes they don't pay you until the product arrives. If you're
Right.
brand new to
And
PayPal,
well, on Etsy with new people, there's been talk in this is that they've, had to wait the 90 days or whatever it is that Etsy has put on new accounts, and that today was like their opening day to get their money, and all of a sudden they can't get their money, and they're like,
yeah,
we've had this money held for so long. But yeah, but getting the finding the right way of getting that payment is going to be difficult for everybody. It's going to take time, but nobody can do anything really until Monday at this point. I mean, there's obviously post offices open and shipping options open, but most people don't, I think, typically fill in the weekends. I do because we can drop stuff off, but our post office isn't even open. We just drop it off. So
yeah,
I mean,
no, I
and
know,
but this is the main reason why I don't have a 1 day fill time period, like a lot of shops on Etsy do. I don't. I never have. I never will because Etsy has had times that they're shut down. There's been times that the USPS labels are down. There's been times that for whatever reason there's just error, 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 and
right?
and so it's like why chance having and I don't even care about the star seller status honestly, but why chance having my customers think, hey, you're sending these out late, and then it ding in my account because that's and I'd rather have it. You can set it to 1 day to start with and have a range up to 4 days, and it gives that range to the customer. They can see it can come between this time to this time, and then they add on. for the shipping, estimating off of whatever you're using for shipping usually. I think they use the USPS as the guide because everybody uses the USPS in some way. So they use the guide on shipping times based off of that when they give the estimates on the front end to where location to location. When there's a delay that's being reported for whatever reason, we've seen it at the holidays and in severe weather, they know there's a delay in a certain area. So now if you live in that area, it's going to tell you it's going to be like 2 weeks, even though it should take 3 days type thing because they know there's delays for whatever reason. And they've implemented these things. So if you put on 1 to 4 days, it's not going to say, hey, you know what, it should arrive in 2 days only. It's going to say if it takes 2 days to get there, it's going to be 3 to 7 days, which will give them some time. That gives it you a couple days to figure out what's going on. So at least I would say, even if you have a 1 day processing time normally, put it 1 to 3, 1 to 4, something like that, just to give you some time in case you have to figure out a new way of getting money.
Yeah. Well, and that's the biggest thing, right? Is that you had to figure out the best processes for you, which is why we're trying to prepare all of this, right? This is why I started the video last week and said, oh, let's start planning for what if, right? What if something happens? Because, like I said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, when Etsy shuts my shop down, when Etsy doesn't pay me, when that's when you want to have everything already in place, which is exactly what the series is for, right? So, last one we covered the three basics. We're going to dive into more of these in the future. The biggest one right now, I would say, is email because it's the easiest one to implement. If we had Messenger set up, which Chrissy and I, we have the systems, right? We just haven't added everything together yet. And so we're gonna do that. I'm gonna walk through exactly how to do that. I'm gonna have examples. I'm gonna show step by step how to do every little element that so that you can make sure you communicate with your customers when something happens. So Messenger is really nice because you can use it for Facebook and Instagram. And so you would do Facebook is through Messenger, but that's attached to Facebook. And then Instagram direct messages. Can use the same tool. I'll be using the same software for both. And you just would go in and say, okay, send out a notification and it would notify everybody, right? Same thing with an email. You go into your email system, your email marketing system, and you would just send an email and say, hey, here's what's going on. This is what, if you want to order, here's what you do, right? And so that's a real simple way. And the third one, of course, is if you have an app, you can send a notification. If you have a website, you're going to use that, but you still need a communication method. You can do push notifications. There's a lot of different ways you can communicate with your customers, and you kind of want to do as many as possible, because if your email is going to spam, then guess what? It's going to go to Messenger. Well, maybe they don't have Messenger on their phone and they're not going to log in for 3 days. All right, well, I'm going to send them a notification through the app as well, so that way they have all of them. And again, you can pick and choose what's best for your audience, but those are all ones that we're going to talk about step by step how to do. So if you're sitting here going, oh my gosh, I wish I had done that, there's no point in wishing you had done it. Let's just get started on the next steps. So, Chrissy, I know we need to both get kids to bed for tomorrow. It's late here. I'm already got my robe on and everything. Is there any last pieces of information you want to provide or recommend?
No, I think that people just have to, I mean, there's a lot of panic going on right now. And the thing is, this is not uncommon for Etsy to have a delay in payments. So whether it's related to a bank or the payment processor or whatever, it doesn't matter. They've had issues for years on things off and on randomly. A lot of times we don't know what the reasoning is, right? So this happens to be, I personally feel like it's an excuse, but they're like, hey, let's point the finger over to somebody else. And they have the ability to do that, so I feel like they're doing that. I don't think it's a time to panic yet, obviously. However, I think it's a time to planning and making sure that all your eggs are not in one basket, because let's face it, this is the perfect example of and reasoning why people move to have other options. We started this a while back because we already saw some other problems, and the fact of the matter is like any company can be shut down. Any big company can be shut down for a legitimate reason, and you should be prepared to have that shift. And instead of panicking, stop, take a breath, and say, "Look, let's plan and be prepared to hear what's going to happen." And at this point in time, I know it's a waiting game, but this is where you stop and say, "Let's plan." So.
Yeah, and you had actually, when our discussion earlier, you had made a point that we should probably bring up now as well, is that it if you're just selling on Etsy, you should consider expanding to other areas. You should also consider expanding beyond just e-commerce, right? So if you like one of the projects we're doing, we're generating a passive income, and that I'm not going to dive into that here. If you guys are interested, hop into the Facebook group. We talk about it more in there. But if you're not diversifying your income in a way, and that's even if you have a job, right? Even if you have a job, I mean, our jobs are at risk every day nowadays. So if you have a job, if you have a company, you should be considering alternative ways to bring in money, ideally passively. But if not, at least alternative methods, whether it's affiliate marketing, if it's doing the stuff we're doing. I actually did a video on some passive methods that you can do, which included affiliate marketing. You can check out that video. There's a lot of different things that you can start doing relatively easy and get the ball moving, so that way if something happens you don't have to rely on 90% or 100% of your income shutting down, right? You can have money coming in from multiple areas, so that way you're not affected as much. I mean, I know it still hurts when money doesn't come in, but at least it would be less painful if it's only part of the income that's being reduced. So, and with e-commerce sales going down all over, I mean, they've reduced significantly. Etsy sales across the board are down. It's a good time to start looking at other options. So, like I said, if you guys are interested in talking more about that, you can hop into the Facebook group. You can leave comments. We're going to be around. We're going to be doing stuff. I'm going to be coming out with more videos so that if you aren't prepared, you can get prepared. And I think we're going to go ahead and call it quits because we got to get kids to bed. Good.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. And I know we'll have a lot of people on the replay, so I'll have my phone with me checking for comments. Thanks. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Chrissy.
Bye.